Right. Example 2 of completing the square. This equation is x squared plus 10x minus 24 equals 0. If we look at step 1 of our checklist, it says if a does not equal 1, divide both sides of the equation by a. And since there is no coefficient on our a term, that means our coefficient is 1. So currently step 1 is good to go. We do have our a equals 1. Step 2 says rewrite the equation so that the constant term is alone on one side of the equal sign. Well, if I zoom in, here is my constant term. It is currently not on the by itself on one side of the equal sign, so I need to get that by itself on one side of the equal sign. So I have to remove it from the left-hand side. I would do that by adding 24. And by adding 24, my 24's cancel out. And I'll have x squared plus 10x. I'm going to leave a blank space there. Equals 24. So now I have step 2 completed, where it says have the c term on one side of the equal sign. Step 3 says square half the coefficient of x term and add the square to both sides of the equation. So what is my x term here? My x term is that right there. So if x equals 10, and I need to half it and then square it, well, 1/2 of x would equal 5, and 5 squared would equal 25. So what I'll have to do is add 25 to both sides of my equation. Once again, why am I doing that? The whole point of this entire process is to make this a perfect square trinomial, where my first term is a perfect square, my third term is a perfect square, and when I factor that, it's easily factorable. So now that I have that, I can factor this to be, well, that's x plus 5 squared equals 49. And once again, where am I getting that 5 from? Well, 5 times 5 is 25, and 5 plus 5 is 10. And I'm also getting that term from right there as well. So now to solve for x, I have to undo the operations around it. I would start by taking the square root of both sides, so that way I can get rid of my exponent. And I'd be left with x plus 5 equals, well, the square root of 49 would be plus or minus 7. Now to solve this, I would have to solve two different equations. I'd have to solve, hey, what would happen if x plus 5 equals positive 7? And what would happen if x plus 5 equals negative 7? I would subtract 5 from both sides on this. Subtract 5 from both sides on this. I'd be left with x equals a positive 2 and x equals a negative 12. And those would be my two solutions, my two roots for that. And that was example 2 of how to complete the square to solve a quadratic equation.